you know, some sort of injury, you know, but yeah, you know, just.
Hello, Lee.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Lee.
Hello.
Oh, I like that jacket.
You know,
Oh, thank you.
I went through that.
So this was in my mailbox yesterday.
I sent that to everybody.
And I forgot to ask you.
Oh.
So
I have a very.
this is from
detailed
Mrs. Strauss.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if she sent
She sent me out.
the same thing to Kate.
Oh,
So I wanted to give this to you
okay.
so that you
Clean it
can
up.
make Katie a copy and then just put
I'll
it
scan it in
copy
and
back.
email it, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to leave this original back in your?
Doesn't matter. You can give Katie the original
Okay,
back. But I just wanted to see if she had sent
okay,
Katie something as well.
okay.
It's like
All right.
an ink show today. The first 3 or 4 pages are all. You tell me where it's at.
Hello. I think I got it.
I think you do. but
Yeah.
it's okay.
Well, right.
That's why I like the jacket so much.
Exactly. Exactly. It took me a long time to find this. A long time. I mean, I went to Brooks Brothers, I went to this, I went to
Where
that.
did you get that?
eBay,
Oh,
You know,
practically brand new from like 1970.
is it really?
Yeah, with Bacharach and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then, I mean, 44 long. What's the odds of finding that
Yeah.
for $35 on eBay?
Not in your.
Let's start. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I have 3:30, so let's call to order today's Ways and Means Committee meeting for Tuesday, November 6, 2024. A copy of this meeting may be found on the website under the tab for the legislature. If you want to look at the agenda, everyone in the room, please silence your phones and electronic devices so that there's no interruptions. And at this time, would you please join me for Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, Carrie Ann, please.
Nagustakis, O'Donnell.
Here.
Fagion.
Here.
Riskevich.
Here.
Hines.
Here.
Sierra. Cheney. Luhan. Ben.
Here. And we got enough to get started, and hopefully Kevin Darian will show up. All right, we're going to change the batting order a little bit today. Eric, come on up. Welcome. Thank you. All right, so A is a request that the Orange County Legislature declare the intent to assume lead agency status under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, with respect to the Department of Public Works Administration building addition in town of Goshen, classifying the action as unlisted and determining the action will not have any significant adverse environmental impacts. Motion in the second, please. O'Donnell, Fagion. Gentlemen?
Okay, this is the building I work out of, the Administration Building Public Works, right across from the garage, off of 17M. It's about 6,900 square foot addition. We're currently in design for it, so we previously design money's released for this. The intent here is to get some employees out of the basement where they have no natural daylight. They've been there for many years. Also, the remote building that's on the other side of the parking lot, which is where EF&S, where Bob Gray sits. That's really, I think, may have been intended as a temporary building many years ago. And it's to get them out and get us in the same building and get better working conditions for all of our employees that are over there. Again, we initially did a initial feasibility layout through one of our consultants' concept plan, and now we actually hired somebody to do a full design.
Okay, and again, just a comment for everyone. Again, yesterday, Mr. Cheney laid a great foundation for all of these items that they passed physical services yesterday. Questions from committee members? Mr. O'Donnell?
Just a comment, congratulations on your board position.
For the State Association?
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
that's good. So you need a big office.
I think it's only 5 square feet big.
Yeah, right, exactly. An extra closet. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. B, request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for the Department of Public Works Administration building renovation and addition. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as project number 22. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created in an amount of $3,500,000 from bonding. Motion in a second, please. O'Donnell, Fagion. Eric?
So it's the same project. First item was just for the secret part, which was
Yep.
unlisted action, and neg deck all the same one. It's uncoordinated review, and this would be for the money portion.
Questions on the funding? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. C, request supplemental appropriations of the capital project budget for the Goshen garage improvements. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as number 27. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created. These activities constitute a type 2 action under SEQR, section 617.5 C1 of 6 NYCRR part 617, requiring no further environmental review. And again, this amount is $1.4 million from bonding. Motion in a second, please. O'Donnell, Fagion. Eric?
So this is type 2 under secret because it's just work on an existing building. This is right across from my office. The main garage, or if you recall, we did the floor projects, restoring the floor where all the plow trucks are parked inside. Overall, it's 36,500 square feet of roofing and 46 windows that we'd be working on. Brian, you want to Brian has a little history of the dates of the original construction.
Yeah, so this is the main garage where we store the plow trucks, also where everything's fixed, where those are fixed, and motor pool also. So the original garage was built in 1951. And there's an addition part that was built in 1975, and I think both roofs are original to those years.
Mhm. Questions from committee members? I don't see any other notices present to announce. All in favor as presented? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. D, request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget for the Orange County Public Safety Campus Water Supply. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as project number 21. And upon approval, a new capital project will be created. And this amount is to be $2 million from bonding. Motion in a second, please. O'Donnell, Fagione. Eric?
Okay, so this is for the 911 campus. Currently, we're off of the Village of Florida water supply up there. If you recall, a few years ago, they had a pretty extreme drought where they were concerned about the elevation of the water in Glenmere Lake, which is what feeds the Village of Florida water supply, with concerns of us being an outside district user that they might have to cut us off under extreme condition. That never happened, but in lieu of that situation, they had decided to ask us to start looking for other water supplies. It's back in 2011, a study had been done by Delaware Engineering, which evaluated the water supply in 2 or 3 wells up there in the 911 campus. That originally was meant to be sort of a hybrid water system to provide water and mix it with and increase the water quality coming from Florida. What we're doing now is we're hiring a firm to study and the wells as a primary water supply to completely disconnect from Florida. So we have more control over water supply up there. So we're in the process of doing an analysis on that. And then this money would be for the actual construction and design of the new infrastructure. Estimates are based on what we originally had in 2011 with inflation and a couple contingency just added in. We'll have a better idea of that scope as we move forward with design.
So there should be plenty of mapping of groundwater sources with what the Water Authority and others have done with the
Yeah.
groundwater mapping of the entire county.
And these wells were drilled back in 2010, 2011. So really, we're updating, we're going to retest the wells, it's been so long, and we have to meet new Department of Health standards, so.
Questions from committee members? Mr. Hunt?
That's gonna take care of the jail, the medical examiner, and the 911 center?
Yeah, the whole campus.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried, thank you. E is a request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for ADA improvements. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as project number 26. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created. These activities constitute a type 2 action under seeker section 617.5 C1 of 6 NYCRR part 67 as stated before, and is requiring no further environmental review. This amount is for $50,000 to come from bonding. Motion in a second, please. Fagione and O'Donnell. Eric.
Okay, so the ADA improvements, this is an annual ask. If you recall, we typically come in for about $50,000 every year. We do have some money from previous years in there. However, we do anticipate spending the majority and probably coming back for more because we're in the process of doing a full out ADA study for county facilities right now. We've already hired a consultant and we've already started. I think we've already gotten through at least 11 buildings, mainly the public access buildings that they're looking at. So we'll put this 50,000 in for, I call it the low hanging fruit, things that we think we can take care of on our own with our own in-house workforce once we get this analysis done. And then I believe we'd be back at a future date, probably for more money over the next year or two, 1 to 3 years, as we come up with a plan to physically make all the improvements necessary for the ADA improvement.
Okay, and you did say yesterday you had about 200,000 in the balance?
Somewhere in that nature, yeah.
Okay, just so everybody knows. All right. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. F is the long one. Request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for the East Main Street Improvements Project in the town of Walk Hill. Upon approval, the funds will increase existing capital project number 531. This project has previously been determined to be a type 2 action under seeker under the sections we've stated before many times, 617.5. This project has not been approved under the 2024 capital plan. Funding for to be reassigned from the following approved 2024 capital projects that are proposed. $1,500,000 from proposed project number 32, the Mount Hope Garage Improvements. $425,000 from project number 35, the Montgomery Salt Barn. $200,000 unallocated funding from resolution number 143 of 2024, listed under proposed project number 36, highway paving in the 2024 capital plan. Upon approval, this will increase existing capital project number 531, the amount of $2,125,000 to come from bonding. Motion in a second, please. Fagione, O'Donnell. Eric.
Okay, so this is a pretty big project over in Walk Hill, important one. We just actually received bids on this a few weeks ago. We're in the range of 4.2 million, a little higher than that. We originally had planned on using CHIPS money to supplement the amount that we had already appropriated for this, but based on administrative strategic moves, and they try to get reimbursements quicker from the DOT, we decided to put CHIPS money in a different direction, more towards the full paving program. So this, rather than increase the capital plan, we thought Ryan sat down and came up with a plan to some projects that we can defer for a while. So that we don't think will cause any type of a safety concern. So that's why you see a long list here. This way we can move forward and award the project. Our Gino Brothers is a little better on that. It's, Ryan could give you a couple details. It's mainly a drainage and traffic signal project. So.
When would you expect them to be awarded and get started?
We're expecting a spring start for construction. They figure about a 6-month timeframe to complete all the work.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you. You have the details to
Yeah, I can
provide
give
for
you the
everybody?
details. So the project is going to basically rehabilitate a section of County Route 67, which is East Main Street. It runs from the city of Middletown line to approximately Garnet Hospital. This section of East Main Street has original drainage pipes that date back probably about 100 years. So the goal is to remove the existing pipes, replace them with new HDPE, long-lasting drainage pipes. We're going to be rehabilitating several signals along the corridor. There's a couple of full signal replacements based on the age of the signals themselves. And then when the contractor's done with all the drainage signals, they're going to upgrade all the ADA accessibility ramps and pave the entire corridor. Yesterday, it was asked the distance of the project, which is approximately 9,000 feet. So almost 2
miles. Okay. And the piping, is that metal galvanized piping, or did they make Orangeburg big enough to do drainage?
It's a mixture. I mean, it is some corrugated metal pipe. There's some reinforced concrete pipe. There's plastic pipe. I mean, anything you've seen in the past 100 years, you'll find in the corridor. So we're trying to upgrade it and make it all current standards.
Okay, thank you. Questions from committee members? Mr. O'Donnell.
How long to complete?
The timeframe for construction, I figure about 6 months of a construction window.
Sassy won't be too upset with this. We do it to the golf course.
There's no detour, so they're going to maintain traffic.
Yeah, they back it up.
Temporary.
You can direct traffic for him. Stand there with a flag.
Look at all the cars starting to help balls of the traffic movement.
All right. Any other questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Ready. Continue on for the next section, the G, regarding the airport. This is a request supplemental appropriation to capital project budget for airport infrastructure capital improvements. This project has been approved under 2024 capital plans project number 17. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created and the amount of $50,000 to come from bonding. Motion in a second, please. Joe and O'Donnell. Eric?
Okay, this is, again, one of those general asks we usually come in for, to have money on hand for some smaller capital improvements around the airport, things that typically are not covered by the FAA. It's sort of a revenue generating expense that the FAA normally doesn't cover. This money, in addition to monies that we have in this fund from previous years, will be cover Hangar D, which will be a large roof repair. That's actually where the flight school is. It's one of the bigger tenants. I think the biggest tenant at the airport. And then a building repair for hangar E1, which would be the siding and the hangar doors, which were damaged by some high winds, potentially even tornado back a few years ago that went through Montgomery. And some repairs just haven't been enough for that, so we're gonna have to do some more major replacements on that hangar. And we obviously have obligations to our tenants there, so we need to keep up with some improvements there.
Right. All right. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Is Bob here? Is he?
I think he's on his way, but
That's all right.
we can cover.
We can
these
get
quick.
started.
If there's any
we can
detail,
keep-
I can send you something.
Yeah, we can keep going.
I think the only thing he has is the detail on some of the mileage on the vehicles and stuff like that, but.
Okay. All right, on to H. This is request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for upgrades and improvements to the SCADA system. The Orange County Sewer District Number 1 intends to upgrade the SCADA supervisory control and data acquisition system. It's a micro PLCS, programmable logic control. Controls flow meters, pressure sensors, temperature sensors, dissolved oxygen sensors, level sensors, etc. for the Orange County Sewer District from the Orange County Sewer District 1, surplus. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as proposed project number 63. And upon approval, a new project will be created in the amount of $125,000. Motion in a second, please. Oh, hey.
I was waiting in the hallway.
It's like magic. Poof, he's here.
Yeah, sort of.
Motion in a second. So Donald Hines. Eric.
All right, so we did have public hearings back on July 22nd for these items because of the special district. We were required to do so. We did that all in one shot for the capital improvements for the year. So public hearing happened for all three of these items that are on the agenda. The one thing which I mentioned last night too, which when it passed physical services, is that we're being very conscientious of the fact that we also have the expansion project that we're going to be doing in a couple of years from now that we're currently in design for. So any items that we're doing now will be items that won't get ripped out later, essentially. So it's basically to keep our system up and running properly in the meantime. So.
Okay. And as mentioned yesterday, again, this is user fees for not county taxation, district residents and users only. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. To I, request supplemental appropriation from the capital project budget for expansion and/or improvements to Orange County Sewer District Number 1. The Orange County Sewer District Number 1 intends to purchase a replacement odor control reactor vessel along with associated equipment. It's in the amount of $150,000 for that. A submersible aerator mixer, $30,000, and replace filter media in T3, which is Train 3.
Train 3.
Train 3 tertiary filters, that's in the amount of $100,000, along with associated equipment and sludge conveyor parts and pumps for $50,000. This is proposed project number 65 in the 2024 capital plan. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created for the total of them all at $330,000. Motion in a second, please. O'Donnell, Fagione. Gentlemen?
Just to my point earlier, Train 3 is one that will not be taken out of commission during the expansion project. That's the one that's actually continued to run as is. So, and all of this will continue to operate past the expansion.
Is Train 3 one of the loops?
No, that's Train 2, the oxidation ditches. That's coming out.
Okay.
you look at the plan, train 1 is in the center, train 2 is off to the left, which is the vaccination ditches, train 3 is the most recent. Forward to the,
Okay,
I guess it is west.
thank you. All right. Questions from committee members? Mr. Hines?
You mentioned public hearings. Did anybody complain or about this, or was there any comments at all, or
I
just?
don't recall there being any comments at all.
I don't think
From what I
so.
recall. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was procedural, you know.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried, thank you. J, request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for Orange County Sewer District Number 1. Orange County Sewer District Number 1 plans to purchase a new SUV in the amount of $38,000, a supervisory vehicle SUV in the amount of $45,000, and a roll-off truck for moving of containers, which is the amount of $240,000. This is proposed capital project number 64 of the 2024 capital plan, and upon approval, a new capital project will be created in the amount of $323,000, which is the total. Motion in the second, please. O'Donnell, Fagione. Eric.
This is essentially the list of equipment here. It's all old equipment, high mileage, and we're just keeping the fleet active. Anything that we replace generally is going to go to surplus. So we can try to recover whatever funds we can.
And yesterday you mentioned that the roll-off truck that carries the sludge has to go 6 hours round trip,
Roughly 5.
Five
Depends
to six
if they have
hours.
to- Sometimes they have to wait, but
round
the
trip
driving time is 5 hours,
to
about
Connecticut,
100 miles each way.
just so that everybody knows. All right, questions from committee members? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Out in time?
Yeah, my equipment actually got moved now, so now.
Oh, okay.
Stick around.
It sounded like an assignment.
Next up, Travis, Indiana. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so A is request supplemental appropriations to the capital project budget with the design, analysis, and hazardous material assessment for the raising, or let's say possible raising, of various county buildings located within the Orange County Park system. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as project number 98. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created in the amount of $100,000 to come from bonding. Motion in the second, please. Fagione and O'Donnell. Travis,
Thank you.
now, did everybody get the pictures? I know physical services got the pictures.
It was sent to everybody.
Okay. Very good. Just wanted to double check that.
I think there's pictures and a list of buildings that we're looking at. This capital is intended to evaluate buildings that are in disrepair on a county park land. Take a look at the structural analysis of the buildings, do a hazardous material assessment, look at any historical relevance of the buildings, and provide us with a guide as to whether it makes sense to raise these buildings or stabilize them and preserve their historic nature, or take other measures.
Okay. And did you get a chance to find any ages from what I asked yesterday, or not yet?
We didn't get a chance to yet,
Okay,
but we will get that information over.
that's fine. Yesterday I had asked about some of them look obviously decrepit or collapsing. And obviously that's part of the future study, the utility for the future for them, so. If anybody would like to look at the pictures. Any questions? All right, hearing no questions, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Letter B, request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for the design and construction of restroom buildings. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as project number 100. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created in the amount of $150,000 to come from bonding. Motion in a second, please. Fagion and O'Donnell. Travis.
Thank you. This project would be for the design and construction of restrooms within our county parks. This is intended to start with the replacement of the bathroom that was at Sally's Dream, which is utilized for the playground, and also the people who rent the pavilion there. Initially, and this money will be in addition to an existing capital that we have in place, where we were initially looking at trying to go with precast bathroom units. That it turned out that the procurement of them wasn't an option, and so we're going to look to actually do a design that we could utilize for future bathroom construction as well.
Mr. Fagion.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, I just want to thank you. I know that you've worked hard on that project in terms of trying to get those cast bathrooms in. And I know that, that going this route wasn't the way that we first started talking about doing this, but it seems to be this is the best way going forward. And I just want to compliment the fact that when you do go to certain county parks and we have solid bathroom facilities there that are in good working order, it's an enhancement to those park facilities. So I appreciate you bringing this to us today.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Echo what the majority leader just said, so Gonzaga is next.
Can be on the list of to go. So.
All right. Any other questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great. Thank you. C, request supplemental appropriation to the capital project budget for the reconstruction of the roof in Jim Ottaway Education Center. This project has been approved under the 2024 capital plan as project number 96. Upon approval, funds will be added to the existing capital project number 714. And again, this is $900K from bonding. Motion second. Fagion, O'Donnell. Travis.
Thank you. This project would be to add additional funding that has been based on the estimates provided by our architectural consultant, would be needed to complete the reconstruction of the Ottaway building that was damaged in a fire incident a couple of years ago. We did receive some money from insurance on this, but it's not enough to cover the full replacement. And this would be the necessary money to do that.
And that amount was roughly 500,000 from the carrier of the contractor.
Yeah.
Mr. O'Donnell.
How many square feet is this building?
I believe it's 2,200 square feet.
$1.4 million for 2,200 square feet.
That's the estimate we've been given. Yes. I know, it's expensive. Yeah. It's staggering.
Let's go.
Yeah, well, true.
It's unbelievable.
Yep. And it's also timing. I mean, it happened at least 2 years ago, maybe more. And it's just escalation, so it is crazy. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lawrence, Donna.
Just me.
Oh, she's not here. Okay,
Just me.
welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So, A, request supplemental appropriation of funds for proposed 2024 capital expenditure to modernize 7 elevators. This is, again, an amount of $1,023,750 to come from bonding. Motion in second, please. O'Donnell, Fagion. Lawrence.
I really don't have much more to elaborate on this. I think we included some additional information on this. So this is an approved capital project. It is to replace 7 elevators. I believe there's 4 elevators in our Glenmere building and 3 elevators in our Calvin building that need to be repaired or refurbished.
Okay. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. B, request supplemental appropriation of funds for a proposed 2024 capital expenditure to comply with the New York State DEC renewed and modified speedies permit. The wastewater treatment plant will require modifications to meet with new maximum daily flow limits for pH, hydrogen or nitrogen and ammonia. This is in the amount of $250,000 to come from bonding. Motion and second. O'Donnell, Fagion. Lawrence,
So we do have
the
to
next
do,
step.
yeah, we have to do some upgrades and some repairs just to meet these new requirements. So, we have to replace some parts down in the sewer treatment plant. Looks like we need to do a water air separator, mud well pumps, clarifier pipe. I believe we have to replace some media as well.
Yep, long-term project, so.
Yep.
Just gotta be done. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate
Have a
it.
great Thanksgiving.
You too.
I should have been saying that to everybody as they were leaving.
Thanks.
All right, next up, Alan. Commissioner of Planning, this is a request to authorize the acquisition of an undivided interest in a conservation easement concerning the Morozuski Farm. Morchewski. Thank you, sir. Tell he's a resident of the town of Warwick, stating that the estimated maximum cost thereof is $272,569, not to exceed 25% of the projected cost, and appropriating said amount through the 2024 Orange County Open Space Fund to the cost thereof. A public hearing will be held under New York State General Municipal Law 247 regarding the acquisition of a conservation easement over the Morozuski Farm in the town of Warwick. The county will co-hold the easement with the state of New York. Motion and a second for discussion, please.
So moved.
Paul. Fagion, Skevich, Fagion. Alan.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, the legislature reauthorized the county open space fund over the summer of 2024 with $1 million set aside in the capital budget. We initiated the first round request for funding availability, which had a closing date of September 13th. We received 2 applications, one of which was the Morchowski Farm. That's a family farm that's been in that family's ownership since the 1920s. It's 166 acres of upland farmland in the Black Dirt region. And the family grows hay, straw, sweet corn, and also produces duck eggs on the farm. As part of this conservation easement, it will enable the owners to get equity out of the property to enable them to purchase or to build a new barn on the facility, helping to ensure the long-term viability of the farm operation. The public hearing is required as you noted under General Municipal Law 247, and the request is to set that public hearing.
Okay, yes, that is for 12/5/2024 at 3:15, just before our legislative session, correct? Thank you, Alan. Questions from committee members? Mr. O'Donnell.
So do all of these projects, not just this one, all of them come with some contingency that they have to build, say, in this case, a barn or upgrade it? Or are other ones, we just give them money?
It doesn't require that they build this one, just happened to be a highlight of their application. But we would, in this particular case, they also applied to New York State Ag and Markets. Ag and Markets, through their Farmland Protection Implementation Grant, is providing 75% of the purchase price of the conservation easement. And the county would be providing a 25% match. But to answer your question, there's no requirement that they specifically.
So if they don't do it, doesn't matter.
That's
Not
correct.
just that, I'm talking about all projects.
Yeah, the intent of the purchase of development rights is to enable the farmers to get.
I understand the intent, I'm just asking if we put any caveats on this, right? That who knows what could happen 6 months from now, and they still couldn't do it. We're not gonna go, hey, give us our money back. I mean, the idea is it's gonna stay farmland forever.
That is correct, so.
Right, the easement goes with the property.
Yeah, exactly. But I just wanna make sure if it's a requirement or we're just throwing that into the language here. So it's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I'm good.
Okay. All right, any other questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. B, request supplemental appropriation of $1 million for the open space fund.
I'll second
Paul and Tom. Al.
Okay, as I mentioned, the legislature has already authorized the 1 million for the capital budget. When that was passed in July, I believe I was supposed to have an attachment A to that, so that's what this is.
Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, county attorney. Hey, Matt. Good. All right, this is the request to approve the release of the county's interest in and to certain deed sale parcels for the, to the previous owner of record. Motion and a second, please, for discussion. Pat Jones, I'll second. Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one parcel up. This is, we've done this many times under local law.
Mm-hmm.
To 2010, we take title that somebody can pay for the next auction. Take the money and support the release our fee and
Yep.
judgment. So
Paid in full.
good for everybody to do this, particularly since after Tyler, we can't keep the surplus anyway. So.
Right. We always like to have people to be able to keep their property, in my opinion. Any questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul. Welcome, Patricia. Okay, A is a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Finance for the County of Orange to make refunds or corrections of taxes in the amount of $2,500 or less. Motion in second, please. Hines and Fagion. And again, this is something we do every year. Paul.
Yes, this is something that we do every year. This allows us to deal with any of the corrections that that come in so that you don't have to deal with them unless they're 2,500 or larger, which makes them a little more significant. I should also point out that there is a movement, has been for a couple of years, moving forward to change that number from 2,500 to perhaps $10,000, so that way we would not have to waste so much of your time dealing with ones that are between that number. The $2,500 number, I believe, was established in 2005. It hasn't changed.
We don't usually do that, all that many anyway over that, but how many do you think you do on an average year under 2,500?
A few dozen.
So, all right, questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Deed sale parcels.
Yes.
Can I get a motion and a second for discussion of these, please? Fagion? O'Donnell? Paul?
Yes, as you can see, we have 10 different bids on 8 different properties. The reason why there's so many this month is because a lot of these came onto the leftover list from the recent auction that we had. These are properties that were forfeited or just did not have a bid on. And so now we have people that are sitting on the leftover list and are bidding. I'm going to, for a few of them, deal with them. If there was 2 bids on the same property, I will address them at the same time so that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So number one.
Right, so the first property, number one, is a small property that the adjoining property owner has bid $1,500 on $1,186.22 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. I recommend that we accept this whenever possible. We want the adjoining property owner to buy it, especially if it's a small property like this that couldn't be developed for anything else.
Right, so he's just making a bigger property, but he can't subdivide or do anything else with that because it's just.
Correct.
All right.
Yep, much better for adjoining property owner to have it than us.
All right, questions for property number one from legislators? Okay, number 2?
I'm going to deal with 2A and 2B at the same time.
Mhm.
Once again, we have a property that's a little bit larger in this case, and it's adjoining property owner A has bid $600 on $10,088.56 total of back taxes, penalties, and interest. Whereas bidder 2B has bid $10,001. I'm going to recommend we accept bidder B and not accept bidder A.
Okay. And this is Mountain Lodge?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any questions on these two? All right, hearing none, on to number 3.
So this is 3A and 3B over in the town of Deer Park. Again, we have an adjoining property owner who has bid $7,000 on $6,686 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. And then also a property owner who has bid $3,200 on that same amount. I'm going to recommend that we do not accept that second bid, but we accept the first bid.
Questions? All right, thank you. On to number 4.
Okay, this one's in the town of Deer Park. This is a small property, again, an adjoining property that has bid $1,929 on $1,989 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. I'm going to recommend we accept this, even though it's $60 short of that number. It's an adjoining property owner. I'm not sure exactly why the 1929 number was bid, but close enough as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, now my map says 2 bidders here.
Actually, it's the same bidder owns both of their properties. So they're the adjoining property owner and the adjoining property owner next to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was a little bit confusion, but weren't sure how else to display that on the map. But that's what's going on. Yeah, it's one, that adjoining property owner also owns a property next door. So
Okay.
they're slowly buying up the land in that area, I suppose.
Great, very good. It's all got frontage.
Yeah, it does. And that's in the HMU zone, which is Hamlet mixed use in that area. So always good to see anybody doing something in the small hamlets over there in Deer Park. So that's good as far as I'm concerned.
All right, you're recommending yes. Any questions from committee members? All righty, on to 5.
Number 5 is a small triangular piece of land off of Craigville Road, Kennywood 66. And we have a bid of $400 on $350 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. Again, small triangle that doesn't have a whole lot of use for utility, although it's not an adjoining property owner. I'm recommending, yes, we accept this because we have no other use and potentially no other bidder unless another property owner steps forward.
So he's going to knock on somebody's door and say, hey, you want to buy this for $500?
Quite possibly.
All right, questions from committee members? All right, hearing none. On to number 6.
This is a property that doesn't have any actual road frontage on a public street, and the adjoining property owner's family is getting together to try to buy this property. It is about a third of an acre, as I recall. So it's technically an adjoining property owner who has bid $3,500 on $1,275 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. I recommend we accept this bid.
Okay. Questions from committee members? Okay. Hearing none. Good. All right, on to number 7, page 2.
So this one's in the town of Mount Hope, and it is an adjoining property owner to the rear who is bid on this one. They bid $2,000 on $1,088 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. I recommend that we accept this bid.
Questions from committee members? All right. 8.
This one is in the town of Newburgh. Again, it's a small, narrow piece of land. Adjoining property owner has bid $10,300 for a property that has $1,146 with back taxes, penalties, and interest. I believe they are just trying to expand their lot, their side lot. So I recommend that we accept this bid.
Questions, comments, committee members? Again, for those, this is on the north side, on Route 52 side of Meadow Hill. All right, on to number 9.
Number 9 is in the town of Walk Hill. This is a 4-acre parcel that is right on County Route 76. However, roughly half of it appears to be wet on the maps. It is zoned EMPL. We have a bid of $14,500 or $14,584 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. I recommend accepting this bid because it pretty much covers our losses on this one.
Okay, and you did say it is wet on half of it?
Yes.
Okay. Questions from committee members? All right. 10.
Last property is in the town of Warwick. Again, this is about a third of an acre or so. This property is an adjoining property owner, has bid $2,000 on $1,572 worth of back taxes, penalties, and interest. It's zoned SL, which is suburban residential low density, which requires at least 1.5 to 2 acres depending upon the use. So there's no chance of this. And since an adjoining property owner bidding on it, I recommend that we accept this bid.
Okay. Now, from the map, it looks like is it possible for him to access from both sides of Alexander Road, or is it, since it just touches?
I believe, obviously, from the north side, yes, but from that corner in the rear,
Probably not, right?
probably
I
not.
wouldn't think.
I'd have to read through the descriptions to see if there's anything that would allow it, but no, if it's a corner like that, no, there should not be any kind of action.
I wouldn't think so. Okay,
But again, adjoining property owner could just add it to their site and
Mhm.
increase their site.
correct. All right. Questions from committee members? Okay, so we're looking to vote and approve the commissioners' decisions to accept, number 1, 2B, 3A, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Eve. Okay. Last page. Carrie. Welcome, Carrie and Andrea. Again, something we do every year. A is to request to accept and affirm the Orange County investment policy. Motion and a second for discussion. O'Donnell and Hines. Carrie.
Sure, just like you said, this is something that we come to on a yearly basis to get approved, to then give me the authority to invest the funds.
Now, obviously, I've read these so many times. And major changes to the investment policies, usually normally just the dollar amounts that the banks are willing to.
Sure, so we left the dollar amounts the same. We took one bank out that wasn't participating.
Okay. And who was it that wasn't?
Flagstar. Flagstar.
Flagstar. Questions from committee members? Mr. Hines, anything? All right. All in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried, thank you. Same thing, motion and a second for the debt policy. O'Donnell, I'll second. Changes?
Sure, just on page 6, the county margin is 93.28%. That's the number that changed. That means I still have the ability to borrow 92%, but
Okay.
we're not going to do that.
92.28?
93.28,
Oh, okay, so it's correct, it's just changed from,
yeah, based on our borrowing.
okay. I thought you meant you were changing it.
No.
All right. Questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye.
Chairman, would it be okay? I apologize, but Deb is coming for the ARPA update.
Sure.
So can we do the sales tax first? Is that a problem?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Sure. Sales tax update.
Sure. So because of budget, we did not present the sales tax. So as you can see, for the months of October and November, we came under projected revenue. I'm going to say that word versus under budget because sometimes people think under budget's a good thing. In this case, under budget's not where you want to be.
Mhm.
But year to date, we are still over our projected revenue by 0.33%. So we're right on target. And we're coming up to hopefully our busy season and we'll go from there.
Okay, and again, it's always an estimate, so, you know, it's always best guess, literally.
Yeah, so
So-
exactly. So budget, does the projection and I report on the actual.
Right.
But I mean, 0.33 is great right now.
Right. Okay. Any questions on sales tax? Nothing to vote on, but just say thank you and for all the work you do for charting everything.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I'll thank my staff. I will do that.
Then you want to come up?
Sure.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Grab a chair. So C, this is a request to remove and reallocate excess funds from the completed ARPA projects into existing and new projects. Motion and a second for discussion, please. Joan, I'll second. Do we have the paperwork? I have this is the copy I have, correct?
And this is the schedule.
We didn't need it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Okay, so we are here today to appropriate the ARPA funding as our deadline is 12/31/2024. We do have 3 new projects. One is Sheriff's Riot Gear, one is the Valley View Master Plan, and one is Parks Equipment. We have some projects under budget and some projects that are over budget.
Yeah, so therefore, we have removed some of the contingencies from several contracts based on the fact that we won't know that exact dollar amount. And as you all are aware, we are not giving back any money for the ARPA funding, so therefore we removed that. And if it's and if a project needs additional money, they'll come back to this committee and ask for additional money from surplus to cover costs, to finish up any of these projects.
so again, the deadlines are December 31st to be under contract and underway,
Yeah,
Obligated.
obligated. That's the word, yes.
obligated.
Obligated.
And the real deadline is 12/31/26.
To spend.
Correct, for 2 years to complete
Mhm.
everything.
Yes,
Otherwise, you have to give it back.
correct.
All right? Just so everybody got that, who's listening to us in the,
And we appreciate a lot of people in the audience are in charge of the various projects, so that's why they're here, if there's specific questions on the projects.
questions from committee members? Mr. Hines?
So if one of these projects comes in lower, then we lose that money, is that right?
Yeah, and that's why,
Well, that's why we took out the contingency and such.
So all these numbers are, you're very confident in all these numbers then, so?
Yes.
I can't, yes. We looked at
The people in the room, the people that are advising you?
We have looked at these numbers many, many
Numerous times,
times.
yeah.
Scott, got anything? I only said that because he got off easy yesterday, just coming to the table, sitting down, and didn't say a word, so I wanted to see if you had anything to say today.
We've been involved in the ARPA meetings, and we're very confident and comfortable that this is the way to go.
Okay,
So
Thank you.
we have their emails from them saying
Yeah.
what numbers they are, so.
no, I'm just busting his chops. All right, other questions from committee members? Hearing none, all in favor as presented? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Okay, Deb, you're the only one left.
All right, I'm the only one left. All right, so basically.
Budget update.
Okay, budget update. Revenue is over from 2023, 31 million. Basically, state aid is 10 million, over 23. The majority of this is the education of handicapped children and mental health programs.
Yep.
The other revenue is about 14.5 million. That is basically interest and earnings and sales tax. The expenses, they are over 15.4 million. And that truly is personal services and benefits. And that's basically the 13 million.
Questions from committee members? Hearing none, Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everyone. Motion to adjourn is in order. So, second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Yes, everyone have a safe